52 past the hour tonight in Milwaukee, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance will make his big speech at the RNC as Donald Trump's vice presidential pick. Joining us now, Mark Short, former chief of staff to Vice President Mike Pence. He is also a contributor to NBC's Meet the Press. Mark, thank you for being with us. What do you think a Trump-Vance ticket brings to the party today?
Well, see, I think that J.D. Vance offers an appealing alternative to Kamala Harris. I think that he provides an inspiring personal story of being raised in Appalachia and going from rags to riches. And I think that generally conventions, you want to be additive. And I think that's a good thing by having non-conventional speakers. But at the same time, coming off the heels of a platform that had dramatic changes on walking away from commitments to life and traditional marriage and basically embracing full-on protectionism across the board, 10% tariffs, and bringing on J.D. Vance on the ticket, I think signals potentially a much bigger shift away from traditional conservatism inside the Republican Party. And I think you look at the speakers Monday night who, from the convention platform, were basically having speakers who, sure, you want to bring in labor union, but when you have speakers who are referring to job creators as corporate pigs and denouncing the national right to work, which has been a hallmark of republicanism for so long, and speakers who are accusing NATO of causing Putin to invade Ukraine, and then I think you add on the pick of J.D. Vance, who is far more in the protectionist camp, I think it is a very different direction for the party.
And a direction which seems to be set in concrete by picking J.D. Vance.
Perhaps so. I mean, I think at the end of the day, Donald Trump's going to do the policies he wants. He's not going to really defer a lot to the vice president, but I think he has in J.D. Vance a very articulate spokesman for his policies who can go out and defend them either on media or potentially in his debate with Vice President Harris.
And, you know, Vance has echoed Trump's false claims about the 2020 election. He previously told ABC News, I think it was February of this year, that lawmakers should have fought the results of that race. A huge contrast from your former boss, Mike Pence. What do you make of that?
Well, he should read the Constitution again. I understand that he's a lawyer, but the reality is that the Constitution is very clear as to what the vice president's role. And, you know, sincerely, the framers of our country wanted it that way. They wanted a decentralized election process in which the states certify. They didn't want an expanded federal role in election certification because it would be too easy to influence and distort it. And that's why it was decentralized intentionally. And so both Congress's role and the vice president's role really should be to certify what states have already said is the victor.
Correct, but that's not what J.D. Vance says he sees it and the responsibility of a vice president to do.
I think, again, that's unfortunate. I think he needs to reread what the Constitution says on that. I think it's pretty clear, and it's really not up for debate. I think that there's been 250 years of precedent in our country as to what the vice president's role is in these circumstances. And for those who think there's some novel notion that the vice president has unilateral authority to overturn the results, I think that we fought a revolution for that purpose.
Mark Short, I thank you very much.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.